Hey folks, this is Kerry with Custom Island Tours. I'm going to walk you through the attack on tourism that is happening in Hawaii, especially against tour companies. So, you see the box of pegs here. I've just taken these out of the map, and I'm going to start from the beginning of all the laws. If you can see how many pegs are in there, they all came from this map and all the little holes that are in here. I'm going to be putting these pegs back in to show you the progress in all of the laws that have been passed against tour companies. The green areas on the map are like government lands or state lands. So for a tour company to go to those places, it's a no-go. I mean, you would need a permit from the Department of Land and Natural Resources, DLNR. A lot of this is forest area or watershed area that's controlled by the Board of Water Supply. So you can't go in there because you would contaminate the watershed. So like a lot of hikes to the waterfalls and things like that, you can't even get a permit to go there. So like if there are tour companies taking you to those places, they're probably breaking the law. So I started my company in 2012, January. The name of the company is Custom Island Tours, and the idea is that I would take you wherever you want. You can customize your own tour, and then I would just take you there. I'd be familiar with the area, as someone who's lived in Hawaii for over 25 years. And so it was meant to be a custom tour. By the end of this video, you'll see that I'm very limited in the places that I can go now. So when I started the company in 2012, there was already laws in place for state parks. A tour company is considered a commercial activity, and so that's the terminology that you're going to hear in the law is commercial activities are not allowed to. That means tour companies and then anybody else who is trying to make money, like if you were trying to go to a state park and try to sell T-shirts, that would be considered a commercial activity, and so that's not allowed. So when I started out in 2012, before the city council started passing laws, these were the places that were off limits because they're state parks. So out here you've got Kaena Point, both the west side and the north side. So this whole area here is Kaena Point State Park. So you can't go there. What do we got? Oh, this is a heiau above Aiea. That's a state park where the Aiea Loop Trail is. There's a little heiau before that is a state park. What is this? This is Tantalus Lookout. The Royal Mausoleum, Kapena Falls, and Queen Emma's Summer Palace. If you look these up on the state website and the list of things you're not allowed to do there, it says no commercial activities. So Tantalus Lookout is Ualaka State Park. I forget what that one is, but over here this is Kahana Bay. So Kahana Bay is a state park. This is Laie Point. That's a state wayside. And so that's Goat Island. So that's Malae Kahana State Beach Park. So it's a beach park that is state. This is also a beach that is state. This is Laie Point. That's a state wayside. So these are the places that were already banned because they're state when I started in 2012. So then I learned that you need a permit to go to the city parks. And the city runs 4 of the botanical gardens on the island. And 2 of those botanical gardens you're not allowed to go to even with a permit. And so one of them is Cocoa Crater over here. And the other one is the Botanical Garden in Kaneohe, Ho'omaluhia Botanical Garden. So you can't go there either, even with a permit from the city. You're not allowed to go there. Then in 2011, City Council passed Bill 5, which banned commercial activities on the weekends from all of the beaches in Kailua, from Lanikai to Castle Point. So from here to there, it was only for the weekends. But then the next year, Bill 11, 2012, banned commercial activities at any time from all of the beaches in Kailua, from Lanikai to Castle Point. So all of the beaches from here to there were then banned in 2012. Then in 2015, City Council passed Bill 8, which banned commercial activities at any time from all of the beaches in Waimanalo, from Makapu'u to Bellows, with exception of Waimanalo Bay Beach Park, but not allowed on the weekends. So from here to there, with exception of this one here. So the thing with this one here was you needed to get a permit from the Parks Department and pay $165 per vehicle per month, with a vehicle maximum capacity of 15 people. So you could pay $165 for the permit. However, when I went to get the permit, they told me that they weren't issuing the permit because the city council never wrote the rules on the issuance of the permit. So you could never get a permit there because they just weren't issuing a permit. So even though it wasn't against the law, they just weren't giving you a permit. So now this entire coastline from here to Castle Point is off limits to all commercial activities, including tour companies. Just a little correction, it was Bill 8 that banned all the beaches except for Waimanalo Bay Beach Park, and then Bill 93 in 2017 put in place the fee for the permit of $165. So that was 2017, when you supposedly could get a permit for $165, but they just would never issue it. Bill 44 of 2020 put in place a fee for licensed motor vehicles, motor carriers, which includes tour vehicles, to enter Hanauma Bay. The fees are based on the carrying capacity of the vehicles and are as follows: 1 to 7 passenger vehicles, $10; 8 to 25 passenger, $20; 26 or more is $40. This applies to commercial lot where by city ordinance they are only allowed a maximum of 15 minutes to take photos from the overlook and use the restroom, and are not allowed to go down to the beach. Penalty of $500 if you allow people to go down to the beach. So Hanauma Bay here, there's a commercial lot where instead of parking and going down to the bay, the commercial vehicles like tour buses and tour vans can go there just to look down on the bay from the overlook for a maximum of 15 minutes, and it used to be free. But starting in 2020, they put in a fee. So like 7 passenger vans are like $10, like 12 and 15 passenger vans are like $20, and then the bigger buses, 26 or more, is $40. So even a 7 passenger van with just like 2 or 3 people in it have to pay $10 in order to go to this lookout for a maximum of 15 minutes at Hanauma Bay. Then they started charging for the poly lookout, and then during COVID, they even raised the prices. It used to be free, and then they had a small charge, and then during COVID, they raised the prices to a 1 to 7 passenger vehicle is $15, an 8 to 25 passenger vehicle is $30, 26 and over is $50. So for a 7 passenger van to park at the poly lookout to spend 5 to 15 minutes just looking at from the overlook is $15. Like a 15 passenger van is $30. 26 and above is $50 just to look at an overlook. Also, during the time shortly after COVID, they started a program at the Diamond Head in order to go to do the hike at Diamond Head, which used to be you could walk in with no reservation and pay $1 as you walk in, or if you were to drive in and park, you'd pay about $5 for parking and then do the hike. So after COVID, now commercial activities like tour companies have to pre-register with their PUC permit and proof of insurance, and then they've gone to a reservation system now where you have to make a reservation in advance, and for the tour companies to go in to drop the people off in order to do the hike, which takes about an hour, about 45 minutes to go up and back if you're fit. So now the charge for tour companies for a 1 to 7 passenger vehicle is $25. 8 to 25 passenger vehicle, it's $50, and 26 and over, it's $90 for what used to basically be free and no reservation. Now you need a reservation and you have to pay. Bill 77 of 2020 would have banned permits for commercial activities, including commercial stops by tour companies at any time from Waimanalo Bay Beach Park, but this law never passed and was made moot by the next bill, Bill 34 of 2021, which banned commercial activities at any time from all of the beaches on the North Shore from Sunset Point to Kayaka Point in Waialua. So from Sunset Point all the way to Kayaka Point in Waialua, plus Waialae Beach, which is east of Sunset Beach. So all of these beaches here on the North Shore got banned. And this bill also rewrote the language for all of the bills above that affected the beaches in Kailua, Waimanalo, and then allowed a permit for Waimanalo Bay Beach Park, which was renamed Huna Na Hiho. So you could get a permit, but as far as I know, they never issued that permit. So may as well turn that back to red, because eventually it gets banned again anyway. Then Bill 38 of 2021 bans commercial activities from the following parks: Kailua Beach Park, Kalama Beach Park, Waialae Beach Park, Ehukai Beach Park, which is the bonsai pipeline of the North Shore, Pupukea Beach Park, which is basically Sharks Cove, Waimea Bay Beach Park, Haleiwa Ali'i Beach Park, Kayaka Bay Beach Park. So all of the beaches on the North Shore that was included in the previous law, and the undeveloped portions of Haleiwa Beach Park adjacent to Pu'aena Point. So that's this one here. So Pu'aena Point is now off limits, even though the tour companies are still going there. Makapu'u Beach Park. So this is just all of the ones that were previously banned is included in this. It's just reworded. Kaupo, Kiona Beach Park, Waimanalo Beach Park, Waimanalo Bay Beach Park, Bellows, and all city-owned and operated beach rights-of-way and easements from Makapu'u Point to Castle Point and from Sunset Point to Kayaka Point. So it's saying that you're banned from all of the beach parks, but also all of the land in between the beach parks as well. All of the city-owned or operated beach right-of-ways and easements. So all of the little trails that lead to the beach, you're not allowed to use those to get to the beach, even if it's not a beach park. Then Bill 48 of 2022 specifically banned tour companies. That's interesting because all of the other language said commercial activities, but in this case it specifically said tour companies. Banned specifically tour companies at any time from Kokololio Beach Park in Hauula. This was due to certain tour companies like Nui Tours that were blatantly breaking the existing rules. So as I said before, there was a permit that you could get from the Parks Department, and then you could go to these beach parks. But in 2020, they made some new rules, and they divided the island up into 5 quadrants, districts, and then you could apply for a permit for the beach parks in those districts, but you could only have one vehicle from your company in any beach park within that one district. Now it's really crazy because District 4 goes from Makapu'u Point all along this coast and all the way to Ke'ena Point on the North Shore. So that's 50% of the coastline of the island in one district, and you could only have one van at one of the beach parks in that area. And at that time, I did have the permit for Kokololio Beach Park, which allowed me to take one vehicle from my company, a maximum of carrying capacity of 15 passengers, and then someone who lived across the street from that beach park on a Sunday took a video and sent it to City Council, showing Nui tours with 25 passenger buses there. Every single one of their vans was parked incorrectly. Some of them were parked across multiple parking spaces diagonally. Some of them were parked in the handicap zone. And then there was also a couple of 60 passenger buses from a couple of other tour companies that were there at the same time. And so someone submitted this to City Council in their testimony. And so that was really damning. If you want to check out the YouTube, it's youtube.com/watch?V equals capital J, little y, capital I, capital E, capital B, capital X, small w, 56, little h, 4. So yeah, that was pretty damning. Instead of punishing those companies for breaking the rules, they just banned all tour companies. Bill 19 of 2023, the Parks Director, Laura Thielen, proposed a plan that would be a compromise that would allow the tour companies back into some of these areas that they're banned from, but they had to have a permit, and it was going to be a very strict permitting process where they would allow only a few vans into some of the beach parks. By the way, I added one more tack over here. I forgot. Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail and the Ki'iwi State Park is another area that's banned. So the Parks Director's plan, I liked it. It was going to allow some of these places that are banned for tour companies to get permits to go there, but it was going to be very restrictive and they have to follow the rules. And if they go there for even 1 minute without the permit and they're caught, then it would have been a strict fine. But the local residents who showed up to the City Council meetings were opposed to it. And the Parks Director said, if we ban the tour companies little by little like we have been from all of these places, eventually they're going to be banned from everywhere. And the local residents that were there stood up and said, yeah, let's do that. Let's ban them from everywhere. Because as you see, the coast over here isn't filled in yet. I mean, this is probably going to be the next place that they go to ban. But a lot of this area is already Hawaiian homestead land anyway, and tour companies generally don't go to this side of the island because it's one way in and one way out. You have to double back, and then the crime and theft and stuff is really high over there, and the locals are very protective of the area. So the hotels in Waikiki kind of tell people just stay away from this side of the island. So, they don't get the tourist dollars over here. So it's a poorer side of the island. And the road here doesn't go all the way around. If they did, that would create another path for tourists to go around the island, and that would bring a lot of money into this area for the tourists stopping at shops, and restaurants. So that would bring a lot of money into the area, but they just don't want that. But so yeah, Bill 19, 2023 was proposed by the Parks Director as a middle ground between the bans and allowing the tour companies to do things. but it didn't get very far. It got shouted down by the local residents, and it never went anywhere. So that's where we're at. So basically, all of the places where people would want to go on a tour are banned, or you now have to pay a lot of money just to park for 15 minutes. So this coastline here is all banned, and after that, this bay right here doesn't really have any beaches. It's just there's no sand beaches in this bay, and then this area here, to pull off to the side of the road to go to the beach, it's very narrow. The coastal erosion is it's going all the way up to the highway. Sometimes it's even undercutting the highway, and it's just falling off like that. So there's not very many places where a tour van could pull over to let people onto any of the beaches here. And then this is the famous North Shore, where the famous surf spots are, like Sunset Beach, the Bonsai Pipeline, Waimea Bay, Sharks Cove, Three Tables, Ali'i Beach Park, the Triple Crown of Surfing, 1, 2, 3. It's all banned. You're not allowed to stop there at all. So that's where we're at. So if you were a tourist and you knew that all of these places were banned for tour companies to bring you to with a tour guide, you would probably just get a rental car and go on your own, because all of these places that are banned from the tour companies, the public can still go there on their own in a rental car. So instead of the tourists going in a 15-passenger van or a 25-passenger bus with a tour guide, to keep them out of trouble, to keep them safe, to educate them on the history and culture of Hawaii, now they're kind of forced to go on their own in rental cars. And the average number of people in a rental car is about 3 people, because you get couples in twos, or families, of about 4. So on average, you have 3 people per rental car. So that could have been, 3, 4, or 5 rental cars taken off the road if they just traveled in one 15-passenger van. So now you're going to have more cars on the road, causing more traffic and more pollution. Drivers who don't know where they're going, trying to look at the sights while they're driving, causing more accidents and slowdowns. And it would be better for them to have a tour guide with them, so that they can keep them out of trouble and educate them. But driving on their own in a rental car, they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to know what not to do, like not to get too close to the beach where the big waves are and they get hit by a big wave and sucked out and drowned, or they're trying to snorkel on their own. They don't know where the dangers are and things like that. I feel that it should almost be mandatory that when the tourists venture outside of Waikiki, that they should have a tour guide with them to keep them safe and to educate them, let them know where the dangers are. And imagine how many jobs that would create if the tourists were required to have a tour guide when they venture outside of Waikiki. That would give a lot of jobs to the locals who have lived here for a long time and know their way around. One of the problems is that we get a lot of tour guides that come in from Florida for the summer that aren't from here. So there should also be some kind of rules about what it takes to become a tour guide. I've taken the state course. I have the certificate. But a lot of these people are fly-by-night. They come in just for the summer during the summer rush. But this is the wisdom of our city council, the Honolulu City Council.